The purpose of marriage, for literally all of human history, was the bearing and rearing of children.
Do you have children? I presume you do have children.
4.
When they grow up and when they leave the home, are you going to seek a divorce having fulfilled the sole purpose of marriage? Or is that...
His name is John C.
Alright, so today's juicy topic is a saucy slap fight between a Cambridge smarty pants and Ben Shapiro, with the hot seat being gay marriage. Now, Ben, who's deep into his Orthodox Judaism, swears up and down that his political beef with gay marriage is entirely secular. His religion, he insists, doesn't play a role.
I don't make public policy based on my Judaic beliefs.
But whatever his true motive, his justifications are wild. Let's hear them.
Thank you for a very interesting discussion. My question is about your beliefs on gay marriage, which I believe are informed by your practice as an Orthodox Jew. Is that right?
I will say yes and no. Yes, only in the sense that yes, Orthodox Judaism is against gay marriage, and yes, I also have secular reasons for opposing gay marriage. I don't make public policy based on my Judaic beliefs.
But is this really the case? Does Ben's belief that the creator of the universe considers homosexual relations an abomination play any role at all, in his political case opposing gay marriage? Ben says no.
I don't make public policy based on my Judaic beliefs.
But I find this remarkably unlikely. Having fundamental religious baggage that tells you explicitly, from God no less, that homosexual practice is an abomination is almost certainly going to play into your secular beliefs. You know what? Before we get to Ben's secular reasons for opposing same-sex marriage, let me give you the holy trinity of psychological phenomena that I suspect are really at play here. First, what percentage of those that oppose gay marriage are not religious? And second, of those that are non-religious and still oppose gay marriage, why precisely is this the case? Is it because of the traditional legacy of religious institutions? Well, before we get to Ben's secular reasons for opposing same-sex marriage, let me give you the holy trinity of psychological phenomena that I personally suspect are at play. First, we have the concept of motivated reasoning, something we all suffer from. This cognitive phenomenon occurs when an individual's pre-existing beliefs drives them to selectively seek evidence that corroborates their viewpoint while disregarding contradictory information. For instance, if someone is vegan because they oppose the commodification of non-human animals, then they are motivated to find corroborating climate change arguments. And in the case of Ben's purported secular justifications against gay marriage, one must question whether his deeply ingrained religious convictions are subtly, at least subtly, shaping his cognitive process. Second, consider the psychological concept of cognitive dissonance. This pertains to the discomfort experienced when one's beliefs and actions are in discord, lacking harmony. When residing in a predominantly secular society, a deeply religious person like Ben is going to experience dissonance between how his society is and how, on order from God no less, he thinks society should be. And the resolution to this will involve crafting a secular narrative that harmonizes with his religious values. Lastly, we have another crime that we're all guilty of: post hoc rationalization. This is the practice of retroactively justifying one's beliefs after adopting them, often by constructing seemingly rational arguments to support them. Ben's assertion of secular reasons against gay marriage, which we're about to hear, might well be post hoc. So, does the fact that God Almighty, according to Ben, disapproves of same-sex marriage influence his political beliefs at all? Let's dig in.
On the stance that you do hold that is informed by your Orthodox Judaism beliefs, why do you think it's justifiable to extend these religious prohibitions on people who don't practice Orthodox Judaism?
So I just said I didn't.
Now, Ben may generally think that his religious beliefs don't inform his political beliefs, but his supposed separation is very, let's say, convenient. In fact, it's as convenient as intelligent design proponents who insist that they have entirely secular reasons for looking for evidence of a divine creator, and it just so happens to be a lucky coincidence that they all believe in God. You can call me cynical if you wish, but I think we know what they're doing. We're presented with a secular puppet, but we can see the religious strings above.
So I mean, so I'll start with that. So there's that. If you want to get,
but that does inform your belief, though. Am I right in saying that that does?
On a religious side, but not on a secular, not on a secular moral side. So on a secular moral side, the argument against gay marriage is not even an argument against you living a life that you want to live or anybody else living a life that they want to live without government subsidy. The question of what publicly subsidized marriage looks like. If you want to go to a pastor right now and do whatever you want to do, that's your prerogative. I don't have any problem with that. What I do have a problem with is when the state, which has to presumably have an interest in the sanctification of a relationship, in order for them to sanctify the relationship, the question is, what is the thing that is being sanctified by the state and why?
Well, my fellow apes, let's delve into the nitty-gritty of what the state actually sanctifies when it comes to marriage and why they stick their bureaucratic noses into our personal affairs. First up, we've got the legal and economic framework. This is where the government lays down the rules and regulations that govern the rights and responsibilities of married couples. Think tax benefits, inheritance laws, and the whole shebang. The state wants to ensure some level of legal structure to facilitate the functioning of society and the economy. Next on the list is family and child welfare. The state has a vested interest in ensuring that families and children are taken care of. Marriage provides a legal and social foundation for raising kids and providing them with stability and support. Now, we can't forget about social stability. Marriage has traditionally been seen as a stabilizing force in society. It promotes commitment and provides a framework for resolving conflicts and disputes within relationships. The state doesn't want things to get too chaotic out there, so they encourage stable relationships. Speaking of chaos, let's talk about public health and welfare. Marriage often comes with access to healthcare benefits and social security, which can have a massive impact on public health and well-being. Alright, here's a big one. Property and inheritance. When you tie the knot, it affects who gets what when one partner passes away. The state wants to make sure that there's a clear process in place for handling property and assets, preventing legal battles and disputes. We also can't forget about legal protections. Marriage offers legal safeguard for both partners. Things like spousal privilege, the right to make medical decisions for your spouse, the protection from testifying against each other in court. These are all about ensuring individual rights within the context of marriage. Then there's data. Yes, the government loves data. Marriage provides valuable demographic information for census purposes. It helps them plan things like schools, healthcare, and infrastructure. So yeah, they're going to keep a tab on who's getting hitched. Last but not least, we've got social and cultural values. Marriage has deep-rooted cultural significance in many societies. The state often reflects these values in its policies and laws, acknowledging the importance of marriage in shaping the cultural fabric. So there you have it, a small breakdown of what the state sanctifies in marriage and why they're so invested in it. It's not just about love and commitment, it's a complex web of legal, economic, social and cultural factors that keep the wheels of society turning. Now then, let's see how Ben rules gay people out of this privilege.
So when I look at marriage, the purpose of marriage for literally all of human history was the bearing and rearing of children.
So Ben has thrown down his gauntlet by claiming that the sole purpose of marriage throughout human history has been the bearing and rearing of children. But as just covered, there are many other reasons why the state gets involved in marriage. It's not just about popping out little ones. If we were to follow Ben's logic to its conclusion, it would mean that infertile couples and elderly couples should be barred from marriage because they lack the ability to spawn new players. In fact, me and my wife would have to divorce because we don't want children. And if we did want children, then we would have likely raised them for years and years before even considering marriage. We got married because 1, all of the other benefits that I outlined earlier, and 2, we wanted to celebrate our love and life with our loved ones. So, is Ben simply ignorant of the many reasons for marriage, or is he working up some post hoc rationalization?
The definition of marriage on a fundamental level sort of shifted culturally in the 1960s into two people who love each other. I agree that under that rubric, gay people count, right? Two men can love each other, two women, obviously. But under the rubric of are all human relationships created equal in terms of their utility to the state? And the utility to the state is two parents make baby, baby lives with married mom and dad. Then yes, of course, the form of marriage that ought to be subsidized is the form of marriage that produces children.
Ben's argument hinges on the idea that marriage's foundational definition shifted in the 1960s to simply two people who love each other. Sure, if we narrow down marriage to solely a childbearing institution, then perhaps he may have a point. If the only purpose of marriage was to make babies and raise them with a married mum and dad, then yes, it would follow that the state should only subsidize that form of marriage. But it's not the only purpose, is it? It's not just about procreation, it's about companionship, emotional support, legal rights, and much, much more. The state has a vested interest in childless marriages too, Ben. These unions contribute to social stability, economic productivity, and the overall well-being of individuals and the entire community.
And that's particularly true in a West that is currently reproducing at lower than replacement rates.
Okay, yes. I suppose I'd ask to that, do you have children? I presume you do have children.
4.
When they grow up and when they leave the home, are you going to seek a divorce having fulfilled the sole purpose of marriage? Or is that...
What a fantastic entailment of Ben's position. What a brilliant question. If, as Ben claims, marriage is only about raising children, then what happens when the chicks leave the nest? Should the couple break up because their marriage is now pointless?
Sarcastically, I mean it genuinely. I'm not trying to catch you out here.
I mean, I hope not. I hope my wife and I are getting along at that point. But the obvious answer to that is that parenthood does not end when your children leave the home. I mean, I'm still parenting my children.
But the rearing process does.
Well, no. I mean, I assume you're still in touch with your parents.
I am in touch, but they're not raising me.
I know, but they are still very much involved in your life. How they interact with you makes a difference in your life, I would assume. And I think that's true for pretty much everybody who has live parents in the room. The parental relationship didn't end the minute that you left the house, I assume.
No.
So, and that parental relationship will continue up until the point that they die. I mean, this is actually a pretty interesting example that you're using, because it's obviously true that even after kids leave the house, if their parents get divorced, that has a tremendous effect on a child. So to pretend that relationship simply ends is not true. The rearing process is lifelong. It is not a moment in time, in other words.
Right, so Ben argues that parenthood doesn't end when children leave home, and that's true to some extent. Parents often remain involved in their children's lives. But let's take this further. What if a couple, under Ben's rubric, faces the heartbreaking scenario where they can't have any more children, and tragically, they lose their only child? Would their marriage now be rendered meaningless? That doesn't seem fair or reasonable. What's more, and as emphasised earlier, according to Ben's view, a straight couple who find love later in life, past childbearing age, shouldn't be eligible for marriage. Likewise, young straight couples who can't conceive, say, for example, because the wife has had her ovaries removed due to cancer, must be denied the institution of marriage. It's abundantly clear, is it not, that Ben's argument isn't just poorly reasoned, it's riddled with inconsistencies and post hoc rationalizations. He is either very ignorant of the topic he's talking about, or, and here's what I think is the case, Ben doesn't want gay people marrying because it's against his religious beliefs.
I don't make public policy based on my Judaic beliefs.